to Narrow Path Doctrine. My name is Jim. I want to talk about a verse in Isaiah 45 here today, where God is declaring his sovereign purposes over history, kings, nations, salvation, and judgment. He names Cyrus by name long before his birth and declares that he will raise him up to accomplish God's own will, even though Cyrus doesn't know him. Now, this sovereign action provokes the natural response of fallen man. What is that response? Objection. God anticipates the protest before it's even spoken. Isaiah 45:9 is not a gentle clarification, it is a rebuke. It's God cutting off the arrogance of the creature who dares to question the Creator's right to rule as he pleases. Our verse here today is Isaiah 45:9. It says, "Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it, What makest thou? Or thy work? He hath no hands." This verse establishes a fundamental divide. God is the maker, man is the made. Everything else flows from that reality. Full details on this verse and God's truth. We'll do that here next. The word woe in our verse here is a pronouncement of judgment. It's not mere disappointment or warning. It's a declaration that one has placed himself under divine opposition. The sin addressed here is not ignorance, weakness, or honest struggle. It's striving, contention, accusation, resistance. To strive with God is to place oneself in the role of judge over God. It's to demand that God justify his decrees, his elections, his judgments, and his mercy before the bar of human reason. Job 38:2 says, "Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge?" Isaiah 45:9 makes clear that God doesn't submit his sovereignty to human evaluation. When man demands explanations for why God saves some and not others, why he hardens and shows mercy, why he raises one and brings down another, he's not asking as a servant, he's striving as a rebel. In our verse, it says, "Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth." A potsherd is not even a whole vessel, it's a broken fragment of clay. God deliberately uses humiliating imagery here. Man may debate with other men, he may argue philosophy, theology, and ethics among fellow creatures, but when he turns the same posture toward God, he exposes his madness. Genesis 18:27 says, "And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes." Abraham spoke boldly yet humbly. Isaiah 45:9 condemns not speech, but insolence. The potsherd forgets it's broken. Fallen man speaks as though he were whole, autonomous, and competent to evaluate the works of God. As our verse continues, it says, "Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it, What makest thou?" This question here is not curiosity, it's actually accusation. It implies that God's work is questionable, perhaps even wrong. It's the same impulse seen throughout Scripture whenever man appears to resist God's sovereign will. Romans 9:19 tells us, "Thou wilt then say unto me, Why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will?" And in verse 20, "Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, Why hast thou made me thus?" Isaiah and Paul are teaching the same truth. The creature has no standing to challenge the Creator's design. God's purposes don't require human consent to be righteous. As our verse continues, it says, "Or thy work, he hath no hands." This is an astonishing charge. The clay accuses the potter of lacking ability, wisdom, or skill. This is the root of much theological resistance to sovereign grace, actually. When men object to election, reprobation, and effectual calling, they often cloak the accusation in moral language. But the substance remains the same. God could not possibly be right to do it this way, could he? Isaiah 29:16 says, "Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, He made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, He had no understanding?" To deny God's sovereign right is to deny his wisdom. To deny his wisdom is to deny his godhood. Isaiah 45:9 doesn't teach fatalism either. It doesn't deny human responsibility. Scripture consistently affirms both divine sovereignty and human accountability without apology. Man sins willingly, God reigns sovereignly. Proverbs 16:9 says, "A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps." And Job learned his lesson when God answered him, not with explanations, but with majesty. In Job 42, it says, "Shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? He that reproveth God, let him answer it." Isaiah 45:9 calls the reader to silence, submission, and reverence. God doesn't argue his case. He asserts his authority. The proper response is not to strive with God, but to bow. Psalm 115:3 says, "But our God is in the heavens, he hath done whatsoever he hath pleased." True faith doesn't demand that God explain himself before being trusted. It trusts because, well, he is God. The same sovereign hand that shapes vessels for judgment also forms vessels of mercy, and he does all things well. Romans 9:23 says, "And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory." So Isaiah 45:9 stands as a warning to the proud. Theology that places man as evaluator and God as defendant is already condemned by this verse. To strive with God is to invite woe. But this verse is also a comfort to the believer. The potter's hands aren't clumsy. His purposes are not confused. His decrees are not experiments. The same sovereignty that humbles us also secures us. Isaiah 45:22 says, "Look unto me, and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth, for I am God, and there is none else." To strive with God is rebellion. To submit to God is wisdom. To trust the potter is life. All right, thank you so much for joining me here today. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up and share it with others. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And click the notification bell to get updates when new videos come out here on the channel. So until next time, remember, true doctrine matters. God bless.
The narrow path is the way that leads to life. We walk it every day through blessings and through strife. We watch for you in hope. To the skies our eyes wander, and your Holy Spirit